forms at the entrance to the door. If you wish to address the council, you can fill out a form, bring it up to Ms. Carleen. Although we do have because we do have an area where we recognize anyone wanting to address the council. And as a reminder, on resolutions, only the council will be deliberating. On ordinances, we will ask for public, if the public has any input on the individual ordinances. Last thing I'll ask is if you have any phones, please silence them. Item A, approval of minutes. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the March 28, 2023 regular
Mr. Chairman,
session.
can we
Mr. Lorraine.
defer that until next meeting? She didn't have a chance to finish it.
I wasn't aware of that. Sorry. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. So we had a motion by Mr. Jim Wendell to defer to the next meeting. That's your motion?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Lorraine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. We good, Ms. Carleen?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
No worries.
And that's the 25th.
Yep. So defer to April 25th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item B, state and our federal legislative updates. We have no legislators in the audience. Item C, Lafourche Parish Standing Citizen. We have none, Ms. Carleen. Item D, certificate of recognition. Item 2, Parish President Archie Chasson to present a certificate of recognition to Father P.J. Madden for his years of service to the community. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could just skip that one for now. I think Father PJ's on his way. He'll be here in about 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll bring him up once we get to that. Item E, proclamations. Number 3, Parish President Archie Chasson to present a proclamation proclaiming April 2023 as Autism Acceptance Month. Once again, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas autism is a result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the human brain that can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic background. And whereas as more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 66 children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, in the United States. Boys are four times more likely than girls to have ASD. And whereas autism, a complex developmental condition affecting the patient's ability to interact, communicate, and progress, has not one but many subtypes. First held in the year 1972 by the Autism Society, Autism Acceptance Month emphasizes the need for public awareness to promote acceptance, celebrate the differences, and be more inclusive toward autistic individuals around us. And whereas every April, the Autism Society works to build an inclusive community where autistic individuals are embraced and supported to achieve the highest quality of possible life. And whereas the Autism Society deeply understands the need to foster awareness and acceptance to ignite change and a healthier lifestyle through improved opportunities for people with autism. The organization caters to people living under the autism onslaught, using tools like community partnerships with organizations, digital and print resources, along with events and referrals to spark empathy and inclusivity. And whereas the autism diagnosis rate increasing fast, as we take these 30 days of April to celebrate the differences and learn more about and empower autistic individuals. Now, therefore, I, Archie Chasson, the Parish President of Lafourche, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Autism Acceptance Month.
Just remember to state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Candace Degatere. I live at 16024 Highway 3235 in Cutoff. Thank you, Mr. Archie, for allowing me to do this. I have a 4-year-old son in pre-K at Cutoff Elementary, and realizing how little the Lafourche Parish knows about kids like my son who cannot have a conversation like I'm having right now. He flaps, he twirls, he has the best life, but people just don't understand how little resources we have in our community to accept and understand kids like my son, along with many other kids in our community. And I just want everybody to understand that it's harder on parents like me, along with the children who try to accept that they're different, along with trying to make friends. And then it's harder for the friends to understand that my friend's different, but it's okay, because I love my friend anyway. Thank you.
Very good. Well said. Thank you.
Can I say something while she's passing that?
Absolutely, you have the floor, Mr. Jim.
I just want to thank you for any and everything you do as far as advocating goes for children on the spectrum. I have a 24-year-old son who is on the spectrum, and he is just getting to the age now where he can talk with peers to a level where friendships have formed. So I'm here to tell you it does get better, but it is hard. He came up through the public school system, and there's been several trials and things that we've gone through that are just terrible, but there is hope. There is a light at a tunnel. It's not a train coming at you. It does get better, but just keep fighting the fight. The more people know about it, the more that it's embraced and the better it is for the community. So thank you very much.
Item 4, Parish President Archie Chesson to present a proclamation proclaiming the week of April 10th through the 14th, 2023 as National Community Development Week. Mr. Chesson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1974 to provide local governments with the resources required to primarily meet the needs of low to moderate income persons. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program is among the few remaining federal programs available to address the needs of low to moderate income persons in small cities. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has provided the state of Louisiana with important and flexible assistance to meet the needs of low to moderate income residents of small cities by funding sewer, water, and street improvement projects, economic development projects, and other public improvement projects. And whereas Congress and the nation acknowledge the critical value of the Community Development Block Grant Program and the significant projects, that rely on its funds and support. And whereas the week of April 10th through 14th, 2023 has been reserved for the recognition and appreciation of the Community Development Block Grant Program, now therefore I, Archie Chesson, Parish President Lafourche, do hereby proclaim April 10th through the 14th as National Community Development Week. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Item F, presentations and/or updates. Number 5, Mr. Parish President to recognize Lafourche Parish Government Employee of the Month and/or WOW Employee for the month of March 2023. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pull up this nomination. Our Employee of the Month this month works at the Thibodeau Health Unit, and she's the type of employee that is always looking to help others, especially clients of the health unit. And recently for Easter, she dressed up as the Easter Bunny to cheer up patients and took photos with kids as they came in. And our Employee of the Month this month is Miss Pearl Bason, who I think was trying to get here, but I don't think she made it, so we'll make sure she gets her certificate, Mr. Chairman.
So, okay, that's another one. If she does show up, then we can just defer back up into the agenda. Okay, item G, override vetoed ordinance. So there was an ordinance that passed on March 28th by the council, subsequently vetoed on April 3rd by the parish president. So we had two options. One was to call a special meeting. The second one, bring in on the next regular scheduled meeting. So thank you, Ms. Carleen, for putting it. With that said, however, I am going to pull the override of the veto ordinance. That said, that brings us, and I will make a few comments on that during discussion at the end of the meeting. Item H, legal advisor report. We have none. Item I, engineers, architects reports. I only see one here today.
We try to get here when we can, Mr. Chairman. John Plaisance with GIS Engineering, 16878 West Main Street in Cutoff. We have several projects to update y'all on tonight. First being the Butch Hill Pump Station. We are nearing completion on this. The 95% set was delivered to Dylan for review. Along with that, the front-end specs have been completed. The coastal use permit, we expect to get in the next couple of months, but you never know with those guys, so please don't hold me to that if that doesn't actually happen. Ludovine Pump Station is not actually one of y'all projects. It's a North Lafourche Levee District project, but y'all have had a great deal of input on this project. It's going to have 3 48-inch pumps, total of 450 cubic feet per second. We should be finalizing those plans and specs this week. The 100% package will have one final review by the North Lafourche Levee District, and hopefully by the end of the month we'll be advertising for this project. Valentine Pontoon Bridge Rehab. We have given the 95% plans and specs to DOTD. We have gotten comments from them as well as y'all on this package. We're in the process of implementing these. The main sticking point is probably going to be the RAISE grant. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with this, but DOTD has assigned a project manager to this project. We're presently working through the various documents that have to be done so that we can get this project moving. Grand Bayou Freshwater Reintroduction Project, we are pretty much complete with the preliminary design documents, and we are internally reviewing those documents as we speak. We should have that done in the next couple of weeks. The waste collection facility in Matthews or Raceland, we are preparing the preliminary design documents. We're still waiting on the geotechnical information. We finally got the permit for ELOS to go take the, from ELOS and DNR to go take those geotechnical borings, and Eustis is scheduled to do that in the next couple of weeks. The Hurricane Ida pump station rehab, we have 6 pump stations on that list for y'all. We're going various progress on those 6 pump stations. Ravenswood and Magnolia are be delivered for review, the hydraulic and hydrological models at the end of the week. Those are the ones that are most advanced, but all of them are progressing. Eunice Alamo Pump Station, we're working on that rehab project. We've gotten some direction from the parish in the last few weeks about how to move forward, although I do have a couple of questions for Dylan on that, and I'll be getting on together with him in the next week or so. And finally, the Lockport Elevated Boardwalk, we have submitted a study and report document to y'all. Y'all are we're still waiting on geotech on that, but the geotech is waiting on Department of Natural Resources to provide a permit for them to get out there. And even then, we're also working with the parish to find funding sources for this project. It's 2 different phases. You can see red one going out to Company Canal, purple one coming back. Each one of those is, close to $1 million, so we need to find some money to be able to afford to build that for y'all. That's all I have.
The only question I have is, so like, for instance, the Valentine Pontoon Bridge, I think it's the same slide we've been seeing for a while now. It's the same 95% complete. I'm trying to see, when I look at these slides, is there anything different from the last time or the time before? And so I don't know if it's just a repetitive, if we're gonna see this every meeting, or if we can just see what the changes maybe, or?
It takes a long time, but for a long time, we were kind of waiting on DOTD to review the plans, and they have done that. Again, so they probably finished that 2 weeks ago or so we got to it, and we've got a few things that still need to be done. But again, it's also the RAISE grant paperwork is going to take.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is if
possibly the
that
end of the
doesn't
year.
change in the next, I don't know that, I'm just zeroing in when I look at them for just those changes, like what's
Yeah,
new,
and-
what's new, what's new?
And change from now for the next few months, maybe 6 or 8, is going to be slow.
All
We're
right.
working on it, but you won't see very much.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
My assumption there is no other, yep. So we have a motion on the floor, by Councilman Wendell to, defer in the agenda back to item D, certificate of recognition. Is that your motion, Mr. Wendell? Second by Mr. Arabi. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Once again, Mr. Chesson, you have the floor for item 3. Parish President Archie Chesson presenting proclamation, Item 2, Parish President Archie Chesson to present certificate of recognition to Father P.J. Madden for his years of service to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know when he gets up here in a second, he's gonna say all of this is a bunch of malarkey, and he doesn't deserve it. But I couldn't think of a better man to be able to recognize at one of our meetings. If you don't know, Father PJ, I think, started his priestly career in Golden Meadow, and we quickly converted him to be a Cajun. But he stepped up in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida and became the diocesan administrator in the absence when Bishop Fobb left us to go to Louisville, and led us through that process along with the great staff at the diocese until Bishop Dorsonville was installed a week or so ago. But Father PJ, and I'm gonna butcher this name, Father, so please forgive me. But he's a native of. You're gonna have to help me. There we go. Ireland, and ordained to the priesthood in May 14th of 2004. Father PJ served as an associate pastor at Our Lady of the Holy Rosary in La Rose from June 2004 to June 2006, and St. Bernadette in Homa in 2006, and was the pastor at St. Genevieve in Thibodeau from 2007 until 2009. Father PJ returned to Ireland for many years, but the Bayou called him back to serve as pastor of St. Hilary from 2015 until his first official retirement in 2019. Father PJ, in his position as diocese administrator since April 1st of 2022, has the same authority as the diocesan bishop, except for the matters which would have long-term consequences. And Father PJ has been an active member in the Catholic Charities and served on the Priest Council and also the Knights of Columbus. Now there, I, Archie Chasson, Parish President of Lafourche, on this day, the 11th day of April, 2023, do hereby recognize Father PJ Madden on what will be his second retirement. But I know he's going to stay active in our community. But congratulations and thank you for everything you've done for us, Father PJ.
Absolutely. After he takes these photos, this photo opportunity with you, you can come up to the mic, just state your name and record for the, name and address for the record. And we're gonna limit him to 20 minutes. Yeah, just state your name and address for the record, Father.
My name is Father P.J. Madden, 333 Twin Oaks Drive, Raceland, the parish of St. Hilary. I am speechless, which is rare for an Irishman, and I'm overjoyed to be here on the evening which your President of the United States lands in Ireland for a 3-day visit. So this is in a small world. Your President with Irish ancestry arrives in Ireland, and I arrive here formally before you wonderful people. Before I say anything at all about this incredibly shocking joy, let's just join me, please, as we bow our heads. And we know there's a shadow over this event this evening in the death of Nick Pepper, who died in the course of duty. I want to extend my personal sympathy and those of all our diocesan brothers and priests to his family on their loss. And I ask you to join me in a prayer for the repose of his soul as we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord. Let perpetual light shine upon him. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Amen. Thank you for that prayer for his family, and for him too. My brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, because that's who you are, I thank you first and foremost for your public service. In my past life as a layman back in Ireland, I worked for the Irish government for several years in a senior capacity as an industrial relations negotiator. In addition to that, I worked in the trade union movement as the leader of the Irish Nurses Organisation for 14 years. But all those nurses were themselves in public service. I want to recognise before you and thank you your sacrifice to be of public service to the people of Lafourche, including me, a citizen of Lafourche. Because nowadays, and you know it much better than I do, to put yourself forward for public office is to put your family out there to be abused and attacked in the most negative of ways, sadly, in the divided society in which we now live. Because of that, never doubt this, all of you, whether elected or appointed, serving in our police force or other means of securing our society, that when you put yourself at risk, you really are suffering a martyrdom. You're putting your life on the line each time you come out now to a public meeting, because we don't know who's safe anymore in terms of those who are offering themselves in service to be attacked. And sometimes it goes beyond the political attack to even attack and abuse members of your families. I want to acknowledge as a priest, we are also public servants of a different sort, because our idea is to serve all the community to make it a more wholesome place in which everybody can feel safe, in which everybody can feel that they belong, in which the marginalised believe they have a place and a function and a duty. And so your service to ensure that the standards are held and standards are met in the operation of the affairs of this parish of Lafourche is an extraordinarily positive service, and I want to appreciate it personally. Acknowledging me, you're acknowledging every priest in the diocese, many of us from abroad like myself, who come here to be of service and to try to show the face of Jesus Christ to all of our communities. In the past year, I've had the extraordinary privilege of being called out of retirement and elected by my brother priest to be the acting bishop of the diocese. It was an enormous headache, let me tell you. As I'm sure many of you know, even though when you're elected first, you get very excited at the fact that you were thought enough of to be elected. Then they give you all the dirty work behind the scenes, and you know, oh my God, why me? But that's life as public service of all forms. But there are two people here with me this evening, one of whom organised this behind my back and surprised me with it, Amy Ponson. The two people behind me, Amy Ponson and Bill Barbera, essentially head up our diocesan staff in every capacity and are doing a wonderful work. And I want to acknowledge their relationship with your parish president, Archie Chasson, with whom I have a personal friendship and whom I have great admiration. They work with him hand in glove in trying to restore our community to what we were, to try and give people back a confidence that this area is still worth living in and worth fighting for. And we want to continue that relationship we have with your parish in everything the diocese is trying to accomplish. If there's anything we can ever do, anything that ever seems out of hand, and you ever want to complain about, don't hesitate to call either Bill or Amy, and we'll get everything dealt with. But Archie knows that already. Don't call me anymore, please. I'm thinking of changing my number. I have nothing more to say except from the bottom of my heart and in memory of my beautiful wife, Mary, whose death made me a priest, believe it or not. Thank you for everything you do and for everything you are. And I assure each one of you, and especially your president, but all of you equally, and our police force and all other of our public servants, every assurance of my daily prayers, especially in my daily mass. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you all. This is phenomenal.
It doesn't unlock anything important.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Araby, to return to the regular agenda item J. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item J, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, etc. Ms. Carleen, we have none. Item K, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I'll now entertain a motion to open public hearing. So moved by Councilman Lorraine, second by Councilman Wendell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 7, ordinance amending ordinance number 6739 to correct the name of the road from, it was previously marked as Farm to Market Road, changing to Gaines Shortcut Road as it pertains to no dumping, $500 fine, signs to be posted on, once again scratched out Farm to Market Road, and annotates Gaines Shortcut Road, Gaines, Louisiana, Ward 9, District 6, Parish, Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary no dumping, $500 fine, signs, and providing penalties for the violations thereof by Mr. Araby. Can I get a second on that ordinance? Second by Councilman Wendell. Now, item A, we do have an amendment, and if you see the attached ordinance, it's basically adding S to the word district, making it districts, and adding and 7 to the districts in parentheses in the caption and in section 2. That is your motion, Mr. Araby, for the amendment, second by Mr. Wendell. So at this time, we're going to ask anyone from the public that will wish to comment on the amendment as read. Second call from anyone from the public wishing to address the council. Last call, anyone from the council, from the public wishing to discuss the amendment only. Would anyone from the council like to discuss the amendment? Mr. Araby, you have the floor.
The reason for the amendment, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that the road falls in 2 different districts now. So with your district and everything else, part of it's in your district, part of it's in my district. So that's why we had to change it.
Yeah, same challenge with fire districts and that wording of farm to market, because we had a call the other day and people thought it was the farm market, not farm to market. So anyway, a little confusing, but we all know where it's at. Any further discussion? We'll now vote on the amendment only. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absent be Councilman Melvin and Councilman Adams. Now we will go back to the original ordinance as amended. Anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 7 as amended? Second call for public. Last and final call for public. Would anyone from the council like to comment on this ordinance as amended? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Still good, Ms. Carleen?
Sir.
Item 8, ordinance establishing a no parking zone, emergency vehicles only, and overnight vessel mooring prohibited and trailer storage prohibited signs to be posted at the Delta Farm Boat Launch, Ward 10, District 8, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary signs and providing penalties for the violations thereof, and providing for an effective date. Moved by Councilman Chesson, second by Councilman Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 8? Second call, public. Last and final call for public on ordinance number 8. Anyone from the council like to discuss this ordinance? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Will now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Araby. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item L, proposed ordinances. Ms. DeLynn, can you please do the honors? Yes.
Proposed ordinance number 9, requesting a no dumping $500 fine sign be posted 80 feet from Highway 1 onto California Street on the right-hand side, where it is visible to traffic headed down California Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 4, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary no dumping $500 fine sign and providing penalties for the violations thereof. For Mr. Bo Melvin, we're going to let Mr. Michael Grow take it. 10, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6420 that approves Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located at Scratch Out 128 to 126 West 80th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345. Assessment number 8101790810, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Armin Otan for administration. 11, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6421 that approves Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located at 163 Scratched Out on East 96th Street, Galliano, Louisiana, 70354. Assessment number 0102308010, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Daniel Lorraine for administration. 12, proposed ordinance approving Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located on Bayou Lane, Thibodaux, Louisiana, 70301. Assessment number 0020542760. Due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents.
Ms. Chesson. Yeah, Ms. Chesson, at 1729, Councilman Grow stepped out.
Stepped out, okay. Jim Wendell for administration. 13, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6441 that approved a non-warranty cash sale agreement for property adjudicated to Lafourche Parish government located at Scratch Out 128 to 126 West 80th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345. Assessment number 8101790810 for a minimum amount of $4,000, and authorize the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said cash sale and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Armin Otan for administration. Proposed ordinance 14, amending ordinance number 6442 that approved a non-warranty cash sale agreement for property adjudicated to Lafourche Parish government located at Scratch Off 163 on East 96th Street, Galliano, Louisiana, 70354. Assessment number 0102308010 for a minimum amount of $4,000, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said cash sale and any and all relevant documents. Daniel Lorraine for administration. Proposed ordinance approving a lease agreement between Tarpon Heights LLC and Lafourche Parish government for a temporary storefront to serve as a South Lafourche library, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Armin Otan for administration. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Item M, and for the record reflect, Mr. Grove stepped back in chambers at 17:30 hours. Item M, resolution number 16, resolution requesting Lafourche Parish President to move forward with obtaining program and equipment quotes for approval on upgrading audio-visual voting and record-keeping system to meet current technology and needs for Lafourche Parish Council Chambers in Matthews, Louisiana, moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Grow. Any discussion on this item?
I have
Mr.
some
Wendell, you
discussion.
have the floor, sir.
I called Carlene. I've been working on this with a few people within parish government for quite a few months. We all remember last year, we had some issues with audio-visual stuff and old equipment, things not working, and things not working for others when they come. I called Carlene Monday morning to get this put on the agenda to move forward with a ever-encompassing system. And shortly after that, totally unrelated to it, there was a email sent out with some quotes on some different things. And what concerns me is the fear of throwing money at a never-ending problem. I've done some research to try to, get this rolling back when I was the chairman so that we would have less issues. And I think that Robbie has some information that before we start looking at some different quotes and some different things, to get us kind of together on the same page, comparing apples to apples. And I'm not saying one's better than the other or who we should go with, but we have some pretty antiquated equipment that are, vendor specific. And if we start replacing piece by piece, we'll spend thousands and then we'll end up having to get a new system because everything is 15 years behind the time anyway. We know the audio issues we have, the video issues. We're using old cell phones and some spare parts that Robbie had from previous employment. So if Robbie can fill us in a little bit on what he's been looking at very quickly, and that way we can kind of compare apples to apples, because when we take a look at the quotes, one is very conservative at $20,000-$30,000 to replace some already outdated parts, and the other one is $100,000 for a whole new system that neighboring parishes have just installed. And I've actually seen one of the setups, and it's extremely nice. So Robbie, if you can fill us in a little bit before we move on. Kind of like an old car. We replace the starter, then the alternator goes out, then the brakes need to be done, or do we just get a new car?
I'm gonna be real quick for you as fast as I can. So the first couple of slides are just some cities that have the exact system I quoted out, that I've looked at probably about 6-7 systems now, and this is the one I think we should go with. I've talked to each city that you're gonna see up here about it in great detail through Zoom, through their communications director, for their IT department to see what would be best for us. This is Las Vegas, which is obviously much bigger than what we have. Again, in California. So basically what I'm trying to do is, I'm not only trying to replace what you see in front of you, which is your mics, but I'm trying to rehaul the entire cabinet, the live stream system, and also the system that Miss Carlene uses to record the meeting and do the minutes, and then put everything up in here, as well as drop some other stuff. And see, this is going to be one. So this is one of the main costs of the system, is so that we can set up different accounts for not only everyone up here when they vote, but for each different board and commission we would have come in. They would be able to come in with their own account and set this up and record the meeting themselves, and they wouldn't need us to come. So every board and commission we have in the parish that meets, which we have a lot that meet here, they'd be able to come, record the meeting, and put it up at a later date. And this whole entire software, which is what you're looking at now, which is the back end of it, which is what Ms. Carlene would see, Ms. Rachel would see, and then myself, and then whoever else we give access to, this is what they would see to set up the meeting. Right now, the way Rachel does it is Boudreaux and I'll have to come in and fill all this information out you see in the system. When Ms. Carlene does the agenda in Thibodeau, it'll automatically come here. We won't need a third person to come in, taking time out of their day to come take a couple of hours to fill it out for us anymore. To control the meeting, the chair will actually be able to give the timer himself. You will be able to, so whoever's the chair at the time, which is now it's Councilman Otan, Chairman Otan, you will be able to recognize people straight from one console. So as they come up, as their mics come up, you'll get an order of how they're coming up to to speak, and you will be able to give them access right then and there as they go, and as well as the person who's public speaking right here. Instead of Ms. Carleen having to use the timer, it'll automatically give them 3 minutes, and then the mic will shut off after 3 minutes, and you will have to give them more time. This is the agenda items where you will be able to put the notes in as Rachel's listening to the meeting. She'll be able to put notes in real time right here, as well as record the meeting, and then go back and not have to download anything from that computer, and it's already going to be in Thibodeau. So she'll be able to go to it, pull it up, make the notes herself, and then export it later. And this is just some stuff, how you start the vote, how it shows who voted how, and this is what Miss Carleen and Mr. Otan will see. And then this is how you would vote. It's just a simple click. Compared to what we have now, you have a yes, no, it'd be pretty much the exact same thing. This is, again, it's a touchscreen voting. Then viewing the meeting, which is what you see up here. This is what we will see in the back. It works the exact same way with drop downs for everything you would put in, the motions, the ordinances. It's the exact same thing we have now. It's just a very upgraded version of it. You'll be able to see it as a quick little video. It shows the voting results in real time up on the screen, which is this is what the school board has right now. So they have a system that does all of this for every meeting. It'll show you all of this. And then again, the adjournment, and I'll add finishing the meeting, the statistics, how she can export it. It'll show everything, and everything is time stamped. So if Rachel is sitting here and something happens where she misses something writing down at 17 minutes in, she can just hit a button that'll time stamp it, and she can go back and read it, listen to it at a later date and fix it right then and there. And then this is how she would just be able to export it when she gets over there, so that Ms. Carleen can then put it online. This is just more of the report, which can be edited however we want, but it automatically edits it. It puts it into Word to be edited, and then we can save it as a PDF after. And this is something I wanted to show. This is an email from Megan. A while back when we started doing the council meetings and we started live streaming them more and more often, I wanted to know how many people were viewing them on cable. And over the last 3 months, the average was 24 views per meeting, based on 2 meetings per month. Our Facebook gets probably 3 times that amount, but maybe more than 3 times. We get 5,000 or 6,000 views every time we do this. So, I mean, that's really it. What I'm trying to do is, I understand the quotes are severely different, right? It's 2 totally different ends of the spectrum. But I don't want to have whoever is after us to have to worry about that even when they're here. This will last not only if every councilman here is termed out, but the next individuals who are termed out. Jefferson Parish is currently putting this in right now, and they spent a lot more money than what we have, and I got a chance to go out and see it, and it was a severe upgrade to the point where every board and commission that Jefferson has is now meeting in their council chambers for this, which is what I want to do here, because that's the biggest gripe I get from people, is that we aren't transparent enough. Up until I started working here, I didn't even know we had a drainage district that met. And I think probably even a lot of you didn't really realize that until you start getting involved in government, that you realize a lot of people, we have a lot of board and commissions that meet. We have, civil service that meets here. We could record those meetings and put them online at a later date. We have community action. We have Head Start. We have the animal shelter. We have so many more. We have permits and planning, CZM, that all meet here, that we should be recording those meetings and making it easier for them to be able to put it so the public can see it. But if you have any questions, I'm more than
Any
open.
questions for,
So
go ahead, Jim.
the quote that went out last week was just for replacement mics and the amp, correct?
So Councilman Adams sent it to me, because I went through this entire system that I'm looking at now. I ran it all past Councilman Adams and Councilman Wendell, because Tibu has a lot of knowledge in this area. So I went through all of it with him, and we went through the AAR one that he sent to me. The only thing on that quote, it's just replacing the mics and the audio condenser, and that's pretty much it. The only thing that makes me nervous about it is those mics came out in 2008, and they just came out with a new version of those mics, and $10,000 of that quote is just those mics that came out in 2008. The mics I'm trying to replace this with came out last year. So it's really not comparing the same thing, because what I'm trying to do is replace everything as a whole. I'm trying to drop a TV back here, And that's just the art student in me, because I was always taught not to turn your back to someone when they present to you. So I wanted a TV put back here so you wouldn't have to turn anymore. You'd still be able to look at the person, but see up here. It's just how I was taught. As well as everything in front of y'all, everything in a cabinet. I would like to put a TV, which is in that quote, on this corner wall right here, because we have a hard time seeing it, and anyone who sits here has a hard time seeing that TV, as well as replacing this one, so that no matter where you are in the chambers, you can see it, as well as dropping a few audio links in the back, because right now, if we have anyone come in who wants to do any kind of, like for Hurricane Ida, we did a few media days outside right here. They won't come in here, because we don't have any access for them, for one, to get it hooked up to the internet, and two, to get hooked up to our audio system. There's one here, and then there's one there, one there. It's not enough. So I would like to drop 3 or 4 more, so that when we do have these days where an event happens, we can meet in here, which would make it a lot easier for everyone.
I just have a final statement, not a question, before the next set of questions come. This resolution was, not for a particular program or not for a particular price, but it was for a system of audio, visual, the whole works, not just piecing together. So when we go to say, yes, proceed, or no, don't proceed, that's what the intent was just an ever-encompassing system that would work together and that is up to date with the times. So just keep that in mind when we go.
Councilman Araby.
Mr. President, being as other entities that use this place for meetings, like Head Start and Community Action and things like that, is there any kind of way that we can maybe touch in that budget to kind of help support some of this cost?
So it all comes out the general fund regardless. I mean, yeah, we could tap into everybody else's budget, but it's all coming out the same place at the end of the day. So while it would look good on paper, it's the same money, if you follow me.
Well, I know that Head Start gets some money, and Community Action gets separate money and everything else. And I just kind of wondered if there was a way we could defer some of the costs.
No, not those dollars, right? The money Community Action gets goes strictly into CSBG and LAHEAP. A lot of the money that Ms. Huddleston gets goes into, she gets very, very small brick and mortar money, and a lot of that's going into classroom restoration so we can do other programs with. So, look, at the end of the day, guys, whether it's $164,000, we're gonna make it work if you guys want to do it. I tend to, every time we have a blip, Carlene kind of looks at me sideways, and, we go to try to rush to fix it. The system that was put in, and you and I were here when it was put in, Councilman Araby, when Administrator Chesson did it back in the day when we redid the place. It was a great system in its heyday, but we're seeing some issues with it. All these things are daisy chained together, so if I get mad at Councilman Lorraine and smash my mic here in a moment, then nothing else is going to work tonight. What Robbie and T-Boo and Jim have been working on is something that's completely independent, and will kind of last for as long as we're here, at least.
Well, I was just wondering if there's other avenues we could tap in at. That's all I was asking about. Thank you.
Councilman Grove.
I appreciate it. That was the question I had. But the only other question I have is, we're just voting to move forward with a request for proposal or quotes, not to purchase them.
So that's the same confusion I have. So which is kind of already being done. So I'm not sure what this resolution, what is the substance of this resolution?
Can we pull it as long as we know what the intent is?
Yeah, I think it's already being done.
The quote y'all have that I've done, that's the state contract. So I know we don't have to go out 3 bids, and just for like another
It still needs to
caveat.
come in front of the council
Yeah,
with the proposals.
It has to come- it's
And
just
from
come
my
from it.
perspective, I would propose alternatives because, for me, my fear is the glitch in a complex system. So I hear what you say, but also know we're working in a chemical plant, and if you have a glitch in your system, it shuts everything down versus
So-
simplicity.
So with
So
this
that's
system,
my only, I'm not trying to
yeah,
get into.
no, but that's why I went with this system, because it is the simplicity of it. It's not where everything is daisy chained together and then goes through 3 amps and 4 condensers and a million other things back there and 700 cables. It's like 4. So if one thing goes down, it will spit an error to the computer that tells you exactly what to go fix, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to go with something like this. Which a large portion of the quote.
So the question is, if we start speaking about specific quotes, and we don't have the quotes
Yeah.
in front of us, Ms.
Yeah.
Colleen, so I don't know that Till we have, because the packet, just for everyone to understand, the packet just had this resolution.
Yeah.
There was no attachments or nothing like that, so I would respectfully ask that you remove your second, remove the motion, and we just pull this resolution, and we do keep working on quotes.
Yeah.
We're not buying anything, but I mean, I don't understand what
No,
the
no, no.
vote's about, you know, but.
Honestly, I
and
just want
appreciate the
permission to move forward.
presentation, but I would like to see, I mean, you can go buy a car, and obviously different cars have different bells and whistles,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What are we missing out on in a cheap thing? Basically, we need to
My
have our
biggest
voices
concern,
heard. I
my
like the
biggest
old system
concern,
where you push a button and it comes up and shows who voted for what.
my biggest concern is Ms. Carlene's system. Over the last year in total, on seven different occasions, Rachel's system has stopped recording the meeting.
Yeah, and
And if I wouldn't-
nobody disputes that.
Yeah, and
Robbie.
if I
We don't-
wouldn't have been
none of
able
us
to
dispute
live
that.
stream it, I would lose it. A large portion of what you see in there is the software that replaces that. That software only runs on that computer, which has Windows Vista, which was outdated in 2012. So if something happened where that computer went down and we lost that software, we have to go find a new software at a drop of a hat, right then and there, if something happens to that computer. Because you can't even get a downloaded version of Windows Vista anymore.
And is it user-friendly? I mean, is a
The one-
drainage board gonna come, or you
Yeah,
gonna be
so
here to
they-
make sure they know how to work?
They
it,
will
or
not
gonna-
only come in and do one training for everybody in council, but they'll do another one for any other individual who would come here. So like if every board and commission says tomorrow, hey, we want to do it, they'll do a training at no extra cost to teach everyone how to use it.
All right. So did I hear you pull your second?
Then I pull
Councilman
the
Grove pulls his
motion
second.
and pull the
Jim Wendell pulls his
resolution.
motion, and he pulls the resolution. Is that good, Ms. Carleen? All right, moving on. Item 17. Deferred April 25th. So item 17 has been deferred, that resolution deferred to April 25th, Ms. Carleen. 17. 16 was pulled. No, he wasn't deferring 16. He was on, we're on to the next one. He's moving from Councilman Adams, but he's deferring it. Yes. Okay, item 18, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Hospital District Number 1 for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund, and authorizing the parish president to sign and execute and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Mr. Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, what can they use this money for? Not just anything, huh?
Yep, Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the agreements that it's listed in the agreement, it can be used for anything that FEMA has not paid for on buildings and property. And for those of us that had to worry about debris pickup, we can use it for our 10% match on the FEMA debris program.
So in other words, it just can't be used for anything they want to do with it.
That's right. It's gotta be, for them, it's gonna be used toward their building and their property.
Okay.
All right, with that said, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. The absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 19, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Greater Lafourche Port Commission for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Shestle for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 20, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Griffith, administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion?
I have a
Mr.
quick
Grove.
So, Archie, but basically all of these have that they need to provide a detailed cost information on outlining how they use it.
Yeah.
So are they providing that, then we cutting them a check for
That's
it?
right.
Or that, so it's just earmarked their amount, each one of them?
Yeah, so
Okay.
each entity was developed based on a formula, for how many FEMA claims we had in the system for those different entities. And as noted in the agenda summary, there are a lot of boards and commissions that were left off because they may have not had a FEMA claim, or in the case of, like the fire district with Councilman Otan, it was such a small amount at that snapshot in time, their amount is so small, it doesn't even pay in a lot of cases to deal with it. But they're gonna have to report to us the invoices, any contracts they had that they used the money for, and then we're gonna reimburse them. So we're gonna hold the money till we get all that information.
And the state's giving them 2 months to get that done?
Yeah, so I think in talking with the state, last week, we had kind of a conference call with them. Representative Zarang is gonna bring a bill that will backdate it to August 29th. So we won't be just tied to this fiscal year. And then I think either Representative Zhang or Representative Ogeron or Fontenot is gonna bring a bill to extend the date probably through the end of the year instead of June 30th.
Is it fair to say then all this is gonna come back before us again? Because the current one reads June, has to be spent by June, whatever, of 23.
Probably, but I wasn't sure if they were gonna pass the bill or
It
what
may
the
or not.
timeframe looks like, so.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by, yeah, we're on 20, Sheriff's Office one. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Councilman Window, and 2 absences, those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. It's a lot of writing. You got it, Ms. Carleen? Item 21, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the City of Thibodeau for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Grove for the administration, second by Councilman Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Melvin and Councilman Adams. Item 22, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Bayer Lafourche Freshwater District for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 23, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Town of Golden Meadow for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilman Araby. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 24, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Fire District Number 3 for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 25, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Lafourche Parish Water District Number 1 for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Ms. Chesson will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 26, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Town of Lockport for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Mr. Araby will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 27, I am pulling for the aforementioned discussion. I think it was $700 offered to Lafourche Fire District Number 2 with all the bells and whistles you have to report. Not even enough to cover administrative fees, so that is pulled. Item 28, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Juvenile Justice Facility for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Ms. Chesson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 29, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Lafourche Parish Communications Districts for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Araby for the administration, second by Mr. Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 30, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Fire District Number 9 for the Hurricane Ida Recovery Fund and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Araby for the administration, second by Mr. Window. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item, Mr. Araby, you got something?
Yeah, I just want to ask the parish president, I know we spoke about this several different times before, but I don't see Lafourche Fire District 1 on that list. And, maybe you can explain to the general public why and what the plans are, please?
Yeah, so that goes back to what I said before. There were several entities that were left off because, and I know you had a discussion where they might have had some FEMA claims. It just might have not been at that snapshot in time, so we have a lot of boards that were left off. Representative Fonda has approached us about either taking some of our 2 million that we have in here and giving it to, Fire District Number 1 and the Choctaw Volunteer Fire Department. So we need to work through those issues with those departments and then come up with something to bring to you guys and see if you guys are willing to take our money and give it to somebody else, or whether or not we take some general fund money, and don't touch our allocation to this and give them some funding. So we're gonna work on that the next couple of weeks and kind of draft up some CAs and then present it to you guys and see what you wanna do with it.
Wasn't it an additional 2 million you got or something?
And we have 2 million, and I will say that I could easily take that 2 million and put it toward our $5 million cost share for debris and be good all day long with it. But if you guys want to give that money away to other entities, then we'll bring you something that we can look at to do that.
Yeah, we had the meeting here at the complex. Most of these entities attended, and unfortunately, most of them felt that it was pretty restricted. So they fought to try to widen their uses, but it's very restricted in what they can use. And as we said before, it's a very short window. I will say District 1 did opt not to make a FEMA claim, and so that's quite possibly why they're not on this list, whereas many others engage FEMA and have worked that. And this is above and beyond, outside of what FEMA has covered. You can't, if you've made a FEMA claim, you're not gonna be able to double dip, in other words.
Well, I'm just asking a question because I'm getting questioned
Yeah.
about, why they're not getting it. They were told they're gonna be getting some money from, our representative and. stuff
They
like that.
didn't submit a FEMA claim. They
Okay.
opted not to go that route after Hurricane Ida, because of the challenges with doing the grant.
Okay.
Item 31, resolution accepting the low bid of Covington Sales and Service Incorporated in the amount of $363,784 for the purchase of one combination vacuum truck and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Chestnut for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 32, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Drainage District Number 1 to reimburse $363,784 for the purchase of a combination vacuum truck and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chestnut for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
What happened to the 50-50?
Anyone know?
Parish was supposed to pay 50%, and the drainage district was supposed to pay the other 50%.
Mr. President?
I think you'd have to ask the drainage district that. They came to us and said they were gonna pay the whole thing.
Because it's not all one yet, but they voted unanimous to pay that, but they were told that the parish was gonna pay 50%, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. We get screwed all the time.
Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, so they voted at their last meeting to fund it 100%. I don't think you were at
No,
that meeting.
I missed one, but I was there when
So
no, I wasn't there, you're right.
You had the one that they did 50-50. They came back, brought it to the board again, and asked for 100% funding, and they did approve it. I think the meeting minutes are attached to this.
No, that's fine. I mean, we just getting screwed again.
Mr. Wendell?
All of these things that come up periodically throughout time with drainage districts, road sales tax districts, all of the things that went to the people to vote last month, all of these districts run through the end of 2023, correct?
So we've had a bunch of discussions, with the DA's office over last week. The bonding attorneys, so Ms. Carmen, Mr. Harold helped put us all together, gave us kind of a list of next steps that we're working through. We're gonna try to meet with both of the chairmans of both of the districts next week. Let them know that we're gonna bring in our auditor so we can audit their books, figure out what assets they have, where they are, especially in the realm of drainage district number 5. And then sometime over the summer, we're gonna send you guys an ordinance to actually begin to dissolve the districts, because we still have to do that. The voters voted to consolidate the millages, but we still have to clean up Municode and actually dissolve the districts. So we're gonna do that over the summer, and then slowly start to work with them through the end of the year. And then in January, when property taxes take effect again, you'll see that on your property tax bill. But at any point, we could say Drainage District 5, Drainage District 1 no longer exist.
But as of now, we're still separate by districts and,
That's right,
okay.
that's right.
All right, so it brings us back to item 32. So I tell you what, if y'all don't mind, can we do a quick recess? She sponsored this resolution. I don't want to bring it to a vote with her here. Can we do a quick recess? So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Avery, that we take a 5-minute recess. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 stepped out the room, being Councilman Chesson, 2 absences being Adams and Melvin. And for the record, Ms. Chesson stepped out the room at 1800 hours. Ms. Carlin. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Chesson, to reconvene the meeting at 1810 hours. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. With that said, we were on item 32 and we were in discussion. Does anyone need me to repeat that resolution? Everybody good? Is there any further discussion on that resolution? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 33, resolution amending resolution number 23-068 that approved the services of DRC Emergency Services LLC for contracted services relative to private property nuisance abatement of condemned structures to proceed with demolition and debris removal, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Jones will move on my behalf for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 34, resolution approving a use of facilities agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Moses Community Center for the Lafourche Parish Recreation 2023 Summer Program, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 35, resolution approving the hiring of an attorney and/or their law firm when necessary for the year 2023 to perform any and all legal defense services for Lafourche Parish Government and to provide compensation in accordance with Louisiana Attorney General's fee schedule, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Councilman Wendell will move on Mr. Adams' behalf of the administration, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 36, resolution approving change order number 2 for the emergency dredging of Grand Bayou and LaRose, decreasing the contract price by $47,443.50, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 37, resolution approving application revision number 1 in the total amount of $242,408 for the purpose of a cost of living adjustment for all Head Start staff and for quality improvement funds, and authorizing the parish president and council chairman to sign, execute, and administer said application revision and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item 38, resolution approving amendment number 3 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and GIS Engineering LLC for the project titled Hurricane Ida Pump Station Rehabilitation, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Brings us to item N, parish president, department heads, directors, or managers' reports, presentations, and updates. We'll begin with item 39, Department of Public Works representative to present a report. Mr. Dillon, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll jump right into it. Starting with the Thibodeau Field Office, this is Louisa Street, swept cement line ditch. On Robin Hood Lane, swept roadside ditches. Carroll Street, repaired a pothole. Moving to the Choctaw Field Office, this is Live Oaks Drive, removed collapsed landscape culverts. Bayou Onion Lane, replaced cross culvert. Chack Bay North Levee, clean Borrow Canal. Choctaw Road, repair potholes. Edna Robinson Street, swept roadside ditches and clean culverts. By a Bluefield office is the Meadowland Drive, trim trees. Little Rock Drive, swept roadside ditches. By a Blue Bypass Road, swept roadside ditches. Silver Creek Drive, swept roadside ditches. T. Les Street, repair pothole. The Raceland Field office is 4th Street, swept roadside ditches. Hospital Drive, more specifically the Dill right-of-way that connects the street to our outfall, shred trees, and then swept the ditch. On Hospital Drive itself, swept roadside ditches. Triple Oaks Drive, swept outfall. Party Arpin Canal, shred trees. Cyprian Pump Station Road, replace a broken culvert under that road. St. Charles Bypass Road, swept roadside ditches. Moving to Lockport Field office is the D'Arcangelo outfall, swept outfall. This project is actually nearing completion. All of the drainage improvements are complete. It's just replacing the fence that was destroyed during the process. North Willow Street, replace collapsed driveway culvert. Octavia Street, swept roadside ditches. James Street, swept roadside ditches. Robert Street, swept roadside ditches. And LeBlanc Drive, clean culverts. Moving to the Galliana Field office is East 91st Street outfall, swept outfall. West 163rd Street, remove collapsed landscape culverts. East 5th Street, swept roadside ditches. West 43rd Street, swept roadside ditches. West 79th Street, swept outfall. As far as the work completed by the maintenance contract over the past month, this is Julie Street, replace broken panels. Meadowview Court, replace broken panels. Fairway Drive drainage improvements. This is the construction of the catch basin. And most recently, Road Rig number 7 pump station repairs. As far as the office work completed in the last month, there were no permanent servitudes that were required over the last month. One major subdivision was inspected and 7 property redivision reviews were completed. We had 20 culvert permits and 4 fence permits issued. Of the 311 work order requests were received, 107 permits were reviewed for compliance. As far as projects in the engineering phase, we currently have 26 projects in design phase, 13 projects that are under construction, and in the last month, no projects went out to bid and no projects were completed. We are projecting that 1 project will go out to bid and 1 project will be completed next month. Also, last but not least, we completed and submitted the RFP for debris collection and monitoring. That is going back out. We are hoping to have that submitted in the next week or two. And then we can bring it to you all for adoption in May, so we have contracts ready to go at the start of hurricane season. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Ms. Chasson?
West 79th Street, so we went in and we swept, but there's still a significant amount of mud in the culverts. Are we coming back with that?
Yes, ma'am. We're a little delayed. Down there, we're blowing out the culverts, but we're working on a plan to address that. So, yeah,
Okay.
if it's recent that we did it, we do have it on the list to come back.
All right,
I'll make
good
a
deal.
note of it, too. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Araby?
Mr. Dillon,
Yes,
on
sir.
the Archangelo outfall, I thought in the right-of-way agreement, we were supposed to put a cover on the side of that little shed on the canal right there. That's
No,
not
sir.
it? That wasn't part of Runner, because
No,
I know
sir.
he was concerned about that.
No, sir.
And I see we're having cleaned that section out.
So the maintenance contractor cleaned that from the opposite side early on in the project, maybe 8-10 months ago, prior to us getting a right-of-way. They cleaned it out from Ash all the way to Oak. So that was previously cleaned out, and we just tied in that ditch. It makes a turn, it leaves the property line, and goes completely on the property, so we just cleaned out up to that tie-in.
Okay, I was just kinda concerned, cause I thought we had to put a culvert by that shed, you know, cause he was concerned about that.
The only culvert in the right-of-way, it did call for a 60-foot culvert in the center of the pasture, and that was completed.
Well, those guys did a great job on that ditch, it really looks good. I was out there again today, looking at it, and I kinda kept up on it while y'all were doing it. And it really looks well, they did
Yeah,
a good
thank you for
job.
noticing. Our guys did a fantastic job on that project.
They did a good job, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lorraine,
Yeah, can you tell me where we're at with, Jody Roos's canal?
So it's all dug as far as I'm understanding. I know they were having some conversations back and forth about, past the pipeline was gonna go on there. There were some culverts that were bought. I know we discussed that many times. We were trying to figure out why the culverts need to be installed and what's the issue there, so we can go forward with it, but it's excavated all the way to that one last section.
Well, let me just tell you this. This project started in 2018. Culverts were purchased for that project.
Yes, sir.
What it is, all the way at the end, the people that own the property on the south side, they had cattle there. And the agreement was we got a right of way with the Schwessers to put a couple of culverts, so if ever they had to cross the cows back and forth, that they had a gate there. So that's the holdup. You dug a beautiful ditch, been since 2018, been since y'all been here, 4 years, and we're waiting on that. But I can show you, where did the culverts go? They were on site. The parish paid $1,800 for those culverts.
We've had this discussion at least 25 times, and they've been gone since I got
They
here.
were on site
So-
and they disappeared.
Understood.
And it was $40 a foot. I got a copy of the invoice.
Perfect. As soon as we figure out the
It
reason
was-
why they
wait.
needed to be there and the right-of-way's all in place, we'll finish it.
Yeah, the right of ways are there, didn't In other words, we did a job that they've been waiting for 4 or 5 years. That's gonna work. But if we don't do nothing and open it up to the 40s, we ain't got nothing. We back to square one.
Yeah, we didn't give up on it yet. We're gonna finish it.
But I'll show you a copy of the invoice. Those culverts was on land. One was on land and one was put in the canal. And they went and they took them out. And they went, hell if I knew, went to the north, I guess. But I could show you. I could show you the invoices. They were there. So y'all should be able to say where did they go. They had to go somewhere. It's got to be recorded somewhere.
Unfortunately, they didn't.
And if I wouldn't have a copy of the invoice, I wouldn't have a leg to stand on, but I got that. And it was $40 a foot at that time. You know what it is today for those covers? $90 a foot. So
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I'll-
I can't answer for those.
I'll just see what happens.
Perfect.
Well, that's your opinion. You've only been dealing with it for 4 years, and you see how great you are.
Mr. Wendell,
The state tractors came through a couple weeks ago and cut up some of the dump sites on the North Service Road. So if we have some free time with those trustee crews that we have, if we can take a look in that area and address it until our dumping station, which hopefully will alleviate some of that illegal dumping in that area.
Okay. I'm sorry, when you say cut up the dump sites, there's
No,
a bunch of
it's-
debris, litter?
yes,
Yeah.
so
On the side
there
of
is,
the road?
it's visible and
Okay.
it's easily accessible. If somebody can go with a machine and
Sure.
just grab it. I passed there, Easter Sundays, I saw it, so I know what you're talking about.
And it's-
It's horrible.
Near where?
Service
just-
road, the whole service road has little spots.
They
I say the
dump
whole,
and-
I mean, it's the beginning of it, but.
Yeah, we'll get somebody on that.
You showed the Cyprian culvert, thanks for that work. Did we ever get any resolution with the other little couple things on the Bayou
Yes,
Falls?
I went out there, I looked at it, and instructed the race and field office what they need to do,
Good
so
deal.
it's ready to go.
And I spoke to someone quite some time ago. I know we've been through Ida and everything since then, and this was a low priority item. But I know somewhere, I don't know if it was in Mr. Grow or Mr. Melvin's area, we did something with Jake brakes on a state highway. I still need, I know we had somebody that dealt with the paperwork and everything. I still need to get some on 182 around Nacos. So if we can get in touch with whoever in the government handled all that paperwork and spearheaded it, I'd appreciate if we could.
Yeah,
get
I'll
back
have that
on
discussion. So Marie really spearheaded it.
Okay.
Marie and Aaron, they filled out it's a lengthy permit. It's a long process. Councilman Groh can attest to that. It took us, I think, a year and a half, 2 years to get it done.
I know we were working on it or discussing it at one time,
Yeah.
and then everything happened and it went to the wayside, but if we could,
So I'll find out what needs to be done on that to get that done on Highway 182. I'm not sure what needs to be done from a council perspective, but we'll start to get our ducks in a row
and it's 182 approaching Nacos
approaching Nacos.
for the early morning, and,
Yes, sir.
that's it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Grew?
I would just say, don't say approaching Nacos. They will want to pin exactly where you want those signs, because I had that happen to me too.
Bayou Falls Road.
Yeah.
182 and
Exact
Bayou Falls Road.
address. Or I had talked to Archie about, and the mayor, Thibodeau mayor was here, Kevin, about Barbier. We did the smoke test. We went through, we did all the different things. So Archie said he was going to send an email. If you could just copy myself and Dylan on it, we need to bring that back up. I mean, they did everything, and rain season's approaching. They're having trouble with recent rains, with flushing toilets and things overflowing. So we need to see what it is now. Just kind of, we checking items off the list. It's been a long process. It was several parish presidents ago and mayors ago. So we need to try to put this to bed.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah. Mr. Lorraine, what size culvert that was that went to the north? 48?
48.
48. When was that? That's when it came up missing? That's when it came up missing? The culvert that came up missing, you said it went somewhere. Okay, I was just trying to figure out if I had them in my district. I'll return them to you.
All right. Any further questions? Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Brings us to item O, questions for the administration. None? Go ahead, Mr. Araby.
Mr. Shassel, it's been a couple of weeks now. Did you get your report from the sheriff's office on the speed humps?
No, sir. I actually sent an email this afternoon, asking for an update from Sergeant Menunez. I think that's how you say his last name. But if you have, you said you had a report last week.
I talked to somebody with him, and I understand you sent an email to the sheriff's office, and they reported back to you saying they were doing some good.
No.
So,
No. I had a verbal conversation with Eddie about him thinking they were working, but I haven't seen anything in writing from the sheriff's office saying that they did a report for me.
it seems like it shouldn't be that hard to get a report, you know. I don't know why we can't get a report, but
Mr. Lorraine?
I'll jump on it.
You know anything on the Lafourche Library?
Yeah, so I think it's the next meeting agenda, Mitch? Or it was tonight, yeah. You guys approved the lease agreement they're gonna open up like a little storefront next to it to try to get some services going back down there.
Because they're starting to do a lot of work over there,
They are.
and the shopping center's starting to look good.
Yep.
Looks like they're getting it ready to lease out. The only problem that we have with the shopping center is the library report now. That doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
So if we can get that addressed,
So we're waiting on
So that'd be-
this building in Galliena, the roof should go on sometime late May, early June. So
Okay.
once we get the buildings dried in, we're gonna turn our attention to the interior stuff.
because that shopping center's coming around, but the one in LaRose, they never done anything to that thing on LA1.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Any further questions for the administration? Brings us to item P, discussion. Mr. Araby.
I just want to make an announcement that the Raceland Lions Club will be hosting a chicken dinner fundraiser for their club this weekend, the 16th. It's located at 600 Hospital Drive. It's going to be $12 per plate, and you can either dine in or take out. It's quarter of a chicken, darker white meat, corn, coleslaw, and rice dressing, and a bread. So those guys could use your help, so please come out and try to support them. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Araby. Any further discussion? So, go ahead, Mr. Wendell.
You doing doing the fair? You gonna have the
Yes.
fair? You go in and I'll go right after you. What I have followed.
Okay, so as a few announcements, and then I do want to circle back to the veto discussion. But I would say, I wanted to mention that we had a blood drive Monday before last in Lockport. We had walked away from blood drives years ago because it got to where nobody would show up anymore, right? And so we held one thinking that we'd get no support, and just with COVID, and it was excessively successful. So I would encourage you, if any of you have any nonprofits out there that used to do blood drives, to maybe revisit it, because it was a very, very successful blood drive as we continue to have this shortage of blood. So it worked, and I was very surprised about it. On April 22nd is the Lafourche annual cleanup. So anyone that wants to participate, you can go to the Terrebonne National Estuary Program, BEATNEP website, and find information on it. That's the 22nd of April. As I recall, the 28th of April would be the Government's Has Waste Day, which is here at the Government Complex from 8 a.m. to noon. It's kind of like an amnesty program. You can come drop off your paint, et cetera, has waste. I want to thank the public for their participation in the Easter extravaganza, which we just had about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, in the town of Lockport with 12,000 eggs. It was very, very successful, very heavily attended, and we had a lot of politicians that participated, from the mayor of Lockport, police chief, and then many, many nonprofit organizations, so very successful. I want to thank everybody. Of course, it always helps when the weather's great. The last announcement I have is La Fête du Mont, the Lockport Food Festival, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of this month, and that's going to be at the Pavilion at the corner of Highway 90 and Highway 1. We're hoping for beautiful weather. We'll have rides, no cover charge, bands, etc. Mr. Wendell.
The weekend after La Fête du Mont, the Lockport Food Festival, same location, the Raceland Welcome Center. The Trojan Athletic Association is having their crawfish cook-off. The Trojan Athletic Association is the organization or the booster club for all of the sporting and extracurricular activities for the students at Central Lafourche High School. So April 29th looks like around 2 p.m. to 12 p.m. I think it's a crawfish cook-off, and you can pay to eat crawfish. So if that's something that you fancy supporting, please go out and help that organization. Thank you, sir.
And being you mentioned that, I'll also mention that Central Lafourche is bringing back the alumni. I'm going to let everybody know it's been going since COVID. So they just announced that they're going to have their alumni softball tournament in the latter part of May. So if anyone needs information on that, was that you out this year? All right, yeah, I'm hoping to play. Anyway, if no one else has any discussion, I just want to mention, I'll talk about the veto in the coroner's office. So as we all know now, this veto came down, and I will tell you, totally blindsided. I had no clue. Maybe I'm too naive. I don't know. And I absolutely disagree with all 4 items. And with that said, I want to thank the courage by my fellow council members that supported me. They pushed politics aside to try to do something that was right for such a critical component of our community. People don't quite understand what all occurs. And, we quite possibly have the lowest paid coroner in the state. We quite possibly have the worst working conditions in our coroner's office, and it's an issue. And I'm challenging the parish president to please work with the council. We've been told that we need to fix this, and Lord knows I've done everything I can. And once again, I want to thank Mitch because he helped me. I want to thank the DA's office. I want to thank, and for those that run to the media, I want to thank the council clerk's office, not the clerk of court, Lee Zurich. And I will say that the way these things, the politics work, so, this veto, we were given on Monday, and by Monday evening, the journalists were calling me about the veto. How it works that fast, who calls, I don't know, but it's dirty, and it's very frustrating, and I can tell you, I put my all into it. As you know, Dylan, I called you, I almost want to cry, because I called you when my flight got canceled, and did everything I could. But I will tell y'all that we need to do something. That ordinance is a mess, and I would certainly encourage the parish president to please work with and Jim has offered to work with you, and maybe y'all can come up with something that benefits our community. Our community deserves it. With that said, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Groot. You got something, Mr. President? Okay. The light was hidden.
I know, right?
Go ahead.
They took off my parish president's final comments. No,
So, and listen,
No,
and
it's
so
all
I did that
No, it's
because
okay, I'm messing
I
with
wanted to just to go to general discussion.
Yeah.
No, I want, because I don't, where, the way it was before, we talked at the beginning of the meeting and then something comes up, so we're back to just having an open discussion. And once again, in full transparency, I want everybody to just say whatever they gotta say. Anyway, you have the floor, Mr. President,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman. So just as a side note, the veto was not a dig at you for doing all the hard work you did or a dig at our coroner because of the issues we have with his office internally. I think once the ordinance landed on my desk and I really started looking at the statutes, I really had some fundamental problems, which is laid out in those 4 reasons. And the last one, I think it has some ongoing effects on what state police is doing. And I don't want to damage anything that those guys have been working on in any way, shape, or form. So,
And with that said, I just want to be with full transparency, I did engage the administration from day one.
I
So
know,
that was a
I know.
full month for any comments, and none of what you say came from the DA's office. Nobody brought those issues up. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
no doubt. And I think, and I'll take the blame for that. I didn't really look at it when you presented. I know Mitch was working with you on it. But when I took the weekend and really looked at the statutes, I had some fundamental issues with it. But we'll come back to the table and we'll figure out something. I just think at the end of the day, whether it's the coroner's office or, whatever we do up here, we all walked into something knowing we were going to get paid, right? And we either need to have a coroner that's willing to step up and do his job for what he's going to get willing to get paid for, or we need to find one who can, right? And that's the only thing I'm going to say on that.
And look, you make a good point. So this is all about politics. I mean, that's you just gave your opinion on why, which I think is wrong.
Yeah.
Because once again, quite possibly the lowest paid coroner in the state, and quite possibly the worst working conditions for a coroner's office in the state. I think those are fair statements, based on all the discussions we've had over the last month. And we were once again, I got pulled into this because we were at a critical component. Because you helped bail me out of it.
That's right.
But we were at a stalemate. We could not get people, forensic pathologists, which there's only a handful in the state, to work with us because we refused to pay their invoices back at the end of last year for a number of reasons, but that happened. And so now they won't work with us. So he's in a pickle as well. And all I'm saying is our citizens deserve better from me, from you, from all of us. And we need to do what we can to fix 2 items, the coroner and their working conditions, as we've said numerous times.
Yeah.
So once again, I challenge you, and I'm asking for your help.
Yeah. So 2 other real quick things. Monday is Student Government Day. I think we're slated to be here at around 10 o'clock, so if you guys are available. I know Councilman Otan always comes, and Councilman Groh and some of you others have done it in the past, kind of just passing on the words of wisdom to these youngsters as they come in, as they look toward careers possibly in political science and government. And also I want to recognize Ms. PJ from our South Lafourche Head Start site. For the 2nd year in a row, we will have a teacher in the top 5 of Head Start programs in the state for the Teacher of the Year program, and she will be invited to the big gala at the World War II Museum sometime in June or July. Really a testament to what our teachers are doing and what Ms. Huddleston and the office staff and Head Start have done to turn the program around the last couple of years. And we're seeing it in scores, we're seeing it with improvements in our kids. So I just want to recognize Ms. PJ as one of the top 5 teachers of the year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With that said, can I have a motion for adjournment? Jerry Jones jumps to his feet, says he makes a motion that we adjourn this meeting at 18:38 hours, second by Councilwoman Chesson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin.